Hello, hello, hello. This is Cobb Carter welcoming you to Mike Cobb's Offshore Investment Report. Here we go. Welcome. Let's do this thing. And today we have a follow-up to a single comment that Mike made last time he and I talked. And he mentioned a new country in Serbia. I said, what? And he said, we'll do a host show on it later. And we moved along, and I've been wondering ever since. I have a feeling a lot of you regular viewers have as well. So, Mike, what the heck were you doing in Serbia?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to the George Washington of some new entity somewhere. What the heck is going on?
Well, it is exciting, Carter. So it's not often you get to associate with real big thinkers, and I'll tell you what, these folks, the country that they've started is called Liberland, and they started this idea about maybe 6-7 years ago, but it's actually not a new concept. Back in the 70s, this guy in the English Channel, somewhere up in the North Sea, commandeered or bought, I think he just bought, but anyway, he took over an oil rig and set up his own country called Sealand.
That's right.
You remember?
Right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And whatever, he held himself out as a country for, I don't know, several years, I think, before finally they kind of, surrounded him with, warships and said, basically, we're just going to sit here till you starve to death or give up. And I think he gave up, or I don't remember how it ended, but he gave up, right?
It did not end well. It did not end well.
Yeah, but it didn't end horribly either. It just ended,
That's right?
The idea
it just ceased to be.
and apparently there's another place off. Somebody made it like an artificial island with a bunch of, I don't know, like a floating island, I guess. Anyway, off the coast of Italy, and did the same thing back in the 70s and whatever. And the Italian authorities figured out a way to shut it down, right? So most sovereign states don't really want competition, of course,
right?
Especially from upstarts, right? So anyway, but this guy Veit and his group, they purchased an island in the Danube that is no man's land. It was not after Yugoslavia broke up, and then we had the big war, of course, over there in the 90s. There was an island in the middle of the Danube that is either disputed or non-contested, but neither Serbia nor Croatia claimed it. And it was owned privately. And so this guy Veit went out and raised a bunch of money and bought this island. And
no, wait a minute. So it was owned, you said it was owned privately. It was owned privately.
Private, yeah. I mean, it was a physical piece of land.
Either Croatia or Serbia.
Neither nation claimed it. And so it's truly no man's land. It's, out there in the, whatever, it's no man's land. So he bought it and has basically created a country called Liberland. And so he now travels the world speaking about, his country, and he's the president, and he has a vice president. His name's Bogi. He has a minister of finance, Navid, and Tom, a guy named Tom, is the minister of foreign affairs. And these are all, real people traveling the world talking about their country. And he offers residencies and passports. And, I don't know that the passport's accepted by any country, but he produces one. And the interesting thing is he's gotten nearly 1 million people to apply for residency. So
1 million.
I think it's almost 800,000 right now, right? That have formally and officially applied for residency.
How big is it?
It's about 300 acres. So,
okay. Yeah. All right.
It's fairly big. And he did a big contest. He had a bunch of architects put together plans for, designing a city on this island. And they had a big competition, and they're doing, in fact, tomorrow, well, I guess it depends on when this airs, but anyway, they're doing their 7th year anniversary celebration this week. So again, it's something really cool. And you know what? And I hope they're successful. I don't know if they'll be successful. I mean, they're certainly fighting a major uphill battle with this idea of starting their own country, right? But just to be around people who think that big, right? I mean,
it's incredible.
Were
you actually there? Were you actually in the country or on the island?
No, sadly, I missed that. Sadly, they had a river cruise that went from on the Danube from Budapest to Belgrade. And I was actually speaking at 3 conferences. So I went from Belize, I was in Belize for 36 hours, Colombia for 36 hours, flew for 36 hours to get to Belgrade, and then took a driver up to get on the boat the evening after they had stopped at the island. So I got on just after they had passed Liberland. So I did not get to see it. But anyway, then I spent a couple of days on the boat with all these guys and the folks that had come on the river cruise with them. And I mean, they even have a guy, Michal, who drafted a constitution. And again, it's really based around, the principles of freedom, kind of hearkening back to our original constitution before we added, a billion pages of, regulations and everything to the legal system, right? And so again, it's just wonderful to be around these folks who are giant, big thinkers. Right. It's exciting. It's wonderful.
Are there homes are there actual homes on the island?
No, there's nothing on the island at this point. Nothing.
At this point. But they intend to build homes and an infrastructure.
Yep.
Are you going to help them build? I mean, you are the master builder. There's nothing in the world like a Mike Cobb community, like Grand Pacifica, Grand Bayman, these others. Are you going to help them build a community?
Solely from a consulting standpoint, just in talking with their architects and some of their folks. I mean, it's in Serbia. It's really way outside of our expertise. We understand Latin America very, very well. We don't understand Europe or Serbian, relationships and things like that. So only from a consulting standpoint, but from the idea of how you build a community, how do you actually build a village? How do you build community? That piece, yes, we're going to participate in some of their discussions, but they have, like I said, they've hired a very large architectural firm with a ton of European experience to come in and actually physically do what we do in Latin America. But yeah, it's exciting, Carter.
Well, today I did a email today, which folks you're going to be getting maybe tomorrow. I think tomorrow, about it, and it really the centerpiece of it was Grand Pacifica. Okay. And so in researching it, I went to the community, which is one of my favorite communities at Grand Pacifica, San Diego Viejo.
Yeah.
Right. Which I just love. And it talked in the write-up about it, about all that you built the road structures, all the electric facilities, the waterworks, everything, right? Everything is there, that you were the one who masterminded that. Are you going to say to them, I mean, I know they have architectures, but I'm not sure they have any. Well, I know they don't have built a Mike Cobb community. So are they going to say to you, okay, how do we replicate I guess that's what I'm saying. How do we replicate something like Grand Pacifica?
Yeah, and it's their full intention to do it. The architectural firm that they've hired understands the intent. And actually, I met Sergio, who's one of the architects who was on the river cruise. It's a big firm, right? So it's not just Sergio, but Sergio he's from Italy, and we had a great chance to walk together and talk and spend time. And we were touring different towns along the way. The boat would stop and we get off. And so he and I spent quite a bit of time together. I have to say that he and I speak the same development language, the same. Oh, good. Yeah, right. The same architectural language. I'm not an architect, but the same community language, the same design language. So yes, Carter, I feel very, very comfortable that they are going to deliver a true community of freedom-loving individuals. I also think it's probably a decade off. It's going to take 2, 3, 4 years to get entitled. Yeah, and then they can start working on infrastructure and access, and then they can start building homes. I mean, it's probably 5, 6 years before the first homes are going in, and 10 years before it's a community. But people thought, oh my God, back in 2002 when I moved to Nicaragua and started working on the engineering and the planning in 2002, 2003, people were like, how long is it going to take? I'm like, yeah, it's going to take like 4, 5, 6 years. Well, by 2008, what's that?
Right.
5 years, 5, 6 years, like we had the budding community starting to come up. So, that's just how long it takes. Yeah. But I do believe they have the right people and the right mindset. More importantly, the right mindset, because people can come and go, but the vision, right? And that having that vision documented out so that they understand if people change, but the vision can continue with, with the documentation and yeah.
It's simply remarkable. But in a way, and this is a little off the wall, but it reminds me of, and you'll know this better than I do. I think the name William Wallace, not the one in Scotland, but the one who declared himself the president of Nicaragua. Do you remember that?
I do. Yeah.
that he declared himself the president, and that it was his country. And then the Nicaraguans chased him into Honduras, where they cut off his head.
So, and he shot him, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess the Hondurans wanted to make sure he didn't declare himself president of that
exactly.
country.
Right.
But this is not like that, because this is an independent entity. This island is. It's
for
not,
now. Yeah, for now, right? Yeah.
It is just fantastic. It's fascinating. I wonder. Let me ask you a question, because you're on top of this kind of thing. Why doesn't someone like the Virgin Island guy, what the
Richard Branson?
Yeah, he owns a big Caribbean island, right?
Yep.
Well, is that? Do you think that island is part of some other country's territory? I have no idea.
It is. I think pretty much every single piece of dirt, with a very few exceptions, and I think Veet and his group found one, is claimed by somebody, right?
Okay.
But look, but when you're a billionaire, like, do you really care what jurisdiction you're under? I mean, you are like your own country, right? When you're a billionaire. So,
like William Branson. I'm not. I know he has an island. I'm not even sure what country it's off the shore of. But I know.
I think it's the Virgin Islands. I think it's off BVI, I think.
So he pays almost no income taxes on it. He pays very little taxes.
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Which is fantastic. I mean, some as you know, some of these tax rates south of the border, and this is what I tell people all the time, are extremely low. I think in property tax is just, I can't speak for Nicaragua, and I know in Honduras, it's, I think the word would be minuscule.
Minuscule is a good way to describe most of the property taxes. Yeah, exactly.
which is fantastic. So how often are you going to go over there and to be part?
I don't know. He's on this side of the water. In fact, I'm in Fort Lauderdale today. You can see the United Club behind me here. Right. And his Minister of Finance, Naveed, was here, and I got to see Naveed at the Bitcoin conference here in Miami last week. And
right.
And so I see, and his Vice President Bogey is in Chicago, so I don't always have to go across the pond to see these guys, right? But I'm probably going back in August for they have a big festival. I love it. It's called Floating Man as opposed to Burning Man. They have a Floating Man event in Serbia, and they have a giant lake, and everybody, I guess, gets inner tubes and whatever, and then whatever. It's a big camp out festival, kind of like Burning Man, for a couple of days. So they've invited me to come back and speak at that. So I'll probably be over there in August speaking at that event. But seeing these folks around different places, different events, different conferences, and again, working with them to help steer the big vision to a specific rollout of a type of product that really truly produces community. Again, they want to do it, and the architectural firm they have has that kind of experience. So I do think they're going to be successful with that, and and if they can hold on to their sovereignty, wow, right, wow, yeah.
But let me posit this. Even if they didn't hold on to the sovereignty, they could still have a pretty independent entity, I would think, right?
I think so. I mean, they're looking at creating free trade. Yeah, but part of their constitution is to create free trade zones, right? And so even with the loss of sovereignty, if whoever decided to take it over, had any wisdom at all, they would understand that a free trade zone is a phenomenal economic asset for them. So so they're doing a lot of things right in terms of how they're setting up things so that they can attract foreign investment, foreign capital, and industry. I say industry, but it could be crypto, right? It doesn't have to be physical industry, manufacturing, but commerce. They say bring in commerce and service industries, things like that. These guys get it. I mean, they're all capitalists. They're all very successful business people who just see that if they set things up differently from the start, with different rules, with different foundations, you can really achieve a lot more. And that's really the basis of what they're doing. They're saying, hey, let's be free, let's be capitalist, and let's make the lives better for everyone. A lot of people slam capitalism, but if you just take a look at China, I mean, China's population, I don't know, 1.2 billion or something, right? I mean,
Right.
30, 40 years ago, there might have been whatever, 10% of the population was okay, and 90% were in abject poverty, and they opened up capitalism. It wasn't democracy. Let's be very clear. There was no such thing as democracy, but they opened up capitalism as an economic way, and now 400 million or 500 million folks moved from abject poverty to what we would clearly call middle class, and the capitalist system did that. So did that. And so I know people slam capitalism as, it's got all these flaws. Well, okay, fine. It does have flaws. There is no perfect system, but in the real world, you have to choose between good and better, or bad, good, and better. And capitalism, even if it's not perfect, I think it certainly ranks as good or better than most other economic systems, or any other economic system.
It's interesting you mentioned China, because about 10 years ago, I had a friend who was an exchange student from China. And I said to her, have you ever been to Mao's tomb, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I think I visited there one time when I was in elementary school. And I said, I figured that would be like an annual pilgrimage and all. She said, you don't even understand. We respect the fact he founded the modern China. She said, but the leader who we extol is, what was his name? Deng? Is he the one that brought capitalism?
Deng Xiaoping. Yeah,
Deng Xiaoping. She said,
brought in capitalism, right?
She said he's the one we extol.
Yeah.
Because he brought in a free market, right, which is pretty fascinating.
Right. And people would say, oh, but it's not free. But you know what? If you're starving, do you really care about freedom? I think you care about food in your belly and food for your children, right? So,
yeah.
Granted, again, it's not perfect. And could it be more free? Yeah, probably. But you know what? If you move from starvation to, some abundance, right, and that you have that for your family, that's a big step up. And
that's huge.
It's
that's
huge.
That's huge. And I think
that's what these guys in Lieberland have done. They've just set up their systems, their laws, their regulations, right, to be very free and to produce abundance, right? That's it. How can we produce the most abundance for our citizens and for the people who engage, us? And they've definitely done that. Absolutely.
It's fantastic. And I think, so are they looking for investors?
No. I think at some point when they get ready, they're going to look for people who want to own a home or a condo or a home or whatever to be a part of the community. But no, they're not looking. If somebody to get a residency is $50. So basically what you're doing is you're saying, I support you guys. Here's $50 and you get a residency, right? I don't hold me to this. I think if you want to get a passport, it's citizenship, it's $5,000. And I don't know the number of folks that are doing the citizenship, but again, almost 800,000 people have applied for residency. So what that says is you got, coming up on 1 million folks who say, I love this idea and I want to support it. So right. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yep.
It is fantastic. Well,
Lieberland,
I am
look
thrilled.
it up, Carter. It's awesome.
It's awesome. I am thrilled that they have you there advising them on this, because if you can help them have it the same kind of appeal, the amenities, the upscale ambiance of Grand Pacific or Grand Bayman, the El Zante you're building in El Salvador, that is just going to be a tremendous boost for what they're doing. Tremendous.
Yeah. Hey, and so 2 things coming up, Carter. We're going to tease people for the next couple. I want to talk about the Bitcoin conference that I was just at in Miami. 35,000 people here. It was tremendous. I'd like to talk about that sometime. You can put that on the agenda. And I will be in Portugal. I'm going to the Azores next weekend. We're looking at a project in the Azores, so I'll be there for a few days, then on over to Lisbon and the Algarve. So I think Portugal would mention, be a good program to either mention or talk
Good.
about maybe more in depth at some point too.
Good. Well, let's tackle Bitcoin next week, because you
Okay.
wrote it. There was an article where they interviewed you about El Zante, and I know we're running out of time, but I want to point this out, because you are the Offshore Investment Oracle, and in that article, I was very impressed, because you said, look, this whole cryptocurrency is going to mean major changes in the value of other currencies around the world. You essentially, and it was fascinating to me. I quoted it many times, that it is going to be a sea change in
Yes.
in the whole currency market place, right?
It absolutely is. Yeah. It'll be fun to talk about that. I'll
Yeah,
enjoy that.
because I
Yeah.
think it's going to have a major impact on the dollar. That's what your article essentially, your quote in the article essentially said.
Yeah.
Business Insider, I think it was, right?
Yeah, Business Insider, picked up by Yahoo Finance, MSN Money, and a bunch of the other folks out there. Yeah, it was really widely distributed, which was tremendous. Yeah, it was tremendous.
It was
to see
good. All right.
all the pickup on that.
So
by the way, one last parting thought. I just read an article this morning about it was from Zero Hedge, which I don't know if you know the website or not, but they were talking.
I read it all the time.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw the article about how the world is moving from a petrodollar to a commodity currency, commodity-based currency. I thought that was a powerful article. Anyway, so that might be fun to talk about someday too, Carter.
Fantastic. All right, next week. All right,
Okay.
Thank you, sir. This was fascinating, and now we know about Lieberland, right?
Lieberland. Yep.
And you can keep us updated on it.
I will.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. Mike, thank you, sir. Thanks, you. Have
Carter.
A good flight, and we will talk next week. Thanks for joining us. It's fantastic. Excellent. Thank you. All right, folks, there you have Lieberland from the Offshore Oracle. And it'll keep us updated, because I have a feeling there's going to be eventually an opportunity for investment there that's going to have a very good return. So, folks, like I tell you every time we talk, let's follow Mike's lead and let's do this thing.